Greetings once again from Christ Church, Missoula. This is Pastor Flynn with our weekly meditation. As we continue through Psalm 110, our weekly meditation this week is Psalm 110, verse 2. The Lord shall send the rod of your strength out of Zion. Rule in the midst of your enemies. Matthew Henry called this psalm pure gospel. But when you read it, it doesn't sound much like the gospel that is being communicated in the church today. Last week, we saw Psalm 110, verse 1, declare that Jesus is king of all the earth and has initiated a campaign to subdue all his enemies, making them his footstool. Today's text shows that Jesus is using the church to accomplish this dominion mandate, this new covenant dominion mandate, and it's a process. The rod of his strength issues forth from Zion. Zion is the eschatological Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem, which is the church. This truth is also seen in Psalm 2, which is the second most quoted psalm in the New Testament. Yet I have set my king on my holy hill of Zion. The Lord's king is Jesus Christ, and he is set on the hill of Zion. And the psalm goes on to say that his king is his begotten son, and that all the nations are his inheritance, which he will rule with a rod of iron. The rod of his strength. The rod of his strength for earthly kings, the rod of earthly kings' strength are their soldiers, who are sent out to extend their kingdom and enforce their rule, establishing their dominion. For King Jesus, the rod of his strength is the church, empowered by the Holy Spirit to fulfill the new covenant dominion mandate. It's expressed in the Great Commission, Matthew 28, verses 18 through 20. This rule happens in the midst of his enemies, which means that extending the dominion of King Jesus is a process. It's happening in the midst of his enemies. Now, however, the fact that it is a process doesn't change the reality that he has already been granted the entire earth as his inheritance. He is defeating his enemies in order to possess what he has already been given the right to rule. The obvious question then is, who are his enemies? Well, the first enemy that comes to mind, likely for us, is Satan. And Satan is indeed an enemy of God, but he is not the only enemy. And Satan only works to deceive and to inflame with the greatest enemy of God, and that is sin. Satan inflames the sin that is in our fallen nature. Our own sin is an enemy of the Lord and is being made a footstool through the victory of Jesus Christ and the spread of the gospel. The world is also called an enemy of God. The word world is used in many different ways in the New Testament, but in this case, we're referring to the structures and doctrines of fallen humanity that set themselves up against God. The world is anything that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, as 2 Corinthians 10, verse 5 says, in describing what our warfare is. Now, the final enemy is death itself. Now, all of these enemies, the New Testament tells us, are already defeated. So God is working in and through his church to basically put them out of their misery. They're already defeated. They just need to be completely defeated. And the New Testament tells us that our victory is assured. One day, this work will be finished, and Jesus' reign will be perfectly established. No longer in the presence of his enemies, who have all been completely defeated, but in the presence of his people, who are perfectly submitted to his rule in the great victory celebration of eternity. Thanks for listening. Until next time, his mercy endures forever.